we decided to go across the country and find the most resilient entrepreneurs who strive to continue to succeed and disrupt in every industry that they are in. So welcome to the
Welcome back to the Disruptors Network podcast. We have another amazing show for you with a friend of the show, Hunter Mcintyre, who's back again. He's also going to be on our television show, the docuseries, the Disruptors Network docuseries, premiering this Thursday at 5 o'clock on YouTube Eastern Standard Time. His story is amazing. It's probably one of my favorite episodes, selfishly. I'm really excited to get some talk to him today. If you don't know who Hunter is, he is now the Hyrox World Champion, four-time record holder of the Hyrox competition. He's considered by many one of the fittest men in the world. He was named by Sports Illustrated one of the top 100 athletes in the whole entire world. He's been an obstacle racing athlete his whole life. He was a six-time world champion in obstacle racing. He won Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge, which is on TV, for a whole entire year. He's just an amazing athlete who actually still owns the world record for the Murph. If you've ever done Murph through CrossFit, he holds the world record for time in that competition. But overall, he's an amazing story, a comeback story, a businessman, an entrepreneur, and more importantly, a good person. So without further ado, I give you Hunter Mcintyre. Welcome back, and Hunter, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it. I know you're in the middle of mayhem almost at all times, but I really appreciate you taking the time out and coming on the pod.
I appreciate being here, dude. I don't know. Yeah, mayhem's it's a tough word to say, but it's definitely the truth. Since I've seen you last, man, I mean, it was not even that long ago. I've gone back and forth to Europe over 20 times, a couple world records, a couple world titles, but that's all part of our pursuit. That's what we live for. That's what we're here for. So I'm grateful to be able to have some time to share with you.
I was planning on getting into this later, but I'll ask you now because you just mentioned Europe. Is there a plan to, I mean, I know it's become a big sport in America, but is there a plan to even kind of make that even bigger here, where there'll be more championships here or things like that, where it's not going to be as much as overseas?
It depends on the market, man. I don't really know why it's so much bigger over there. It seems silly. The sport of Hyrox is just this kind of great merging of running and people going into the gym. And it's not CrossFit. It's very different. Even if you go and watch the athletes there, they look very different from CrossFitters. The community is different, and it's just such a thing over in Europe. I don't know why, but if you look at the biggest marathons in the world, they're over in Europe. The biggest Ironmans, the biggest triathlons, that community over there just loves endurance sports. And here in the United States, we're fanatical. We're into NASCAR, football, basketball, all sorts of stuff. But it's just a different kind of experience. That athletes in the UK and Europe just love.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, and you just said it. I know you just broke another world record for the doubles. So now you hold the doubles, the team, obviously individual. And I know you're in the midst of training again right now, so I didn't get to what that is, but
Yeah.
I guess my first question is how do you kind of come back from something like that? Like I broke another world record, and break down what you did and say, well, I have to still improve, because I know that if you don't improve, that you probably won't be able to continue to hold the records. But how do you get the motivation and kind of the will to go back to the drawing board again? Because I saw you training for these last couple of competitions, and watching you was exhausting, just doing it, right? So how do you get the will to come back and do more?
Well, I first have to say, I'm just blessed to be able to say that I do have more. If I can honestly say if I didn't have more, I would stop. I would let go. I can say that my ego is detached enough to say it's okay, pass on the torch. But I really do love this transformation of who you need to become as a human to get these records. A personal record is incredible. A world record is this beyond transformational experience. And I'm always around with Post-it notes and everything. I'm writing things down. I'm weighing myself. I'm writing quotes, reading books, filming myself, looking at pictures, measuring my arms, my hips, my butt, my waist, whatever it is. I just come down to this exact science. And it's so cool that you can keep on showing up and rewriting history every single time you show up again.
Yes, that drives you. I thought about this. It was actually, I wrote down a bunch of things I wanted to talk to you about, and I thought about this afterwards, because I thought about myself, how I was first kind of introduced to you, and how I was first introduced to you through Spartan. And you were different than everybody else, that you looked different. It was all these runners winning the races, and you just looked different. And I think that in general, for me, as an athlete or a former athlete, whatever, we get kind of enamored with talent and athleticism, right? Like somebody who's like extremely different and is an outlier in the group. But I think that even with that, without the hard work, it doesn't make a difference. So, you're usually an outlier. Now you've met a sport where you're kind of the same, but how do you, how do you kind of decipher like where does your hard work come from? Because I know it's not just your athleticism, because it would be over already. It would have been over 5 years ago. Like, where does the work ethic come from with you? Because I think that's what kind of sets you apart.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I want to be patient with that answer, because, there's a lot of this world right now where people love David Goggins, where they're like hard work, put pepper sauce in your eye to make it burn so it's harder. I don't actually want my life to be harder. That's not who I am. I don't look at hard stuff and say, I gotta go do it to make my life harder. I'm thoroughly interested. I'm thoroughly interested in what's on the other side of that. So this summer, I decided to go do a couple Ironmans, and in the pursuit of doing one Ironman, I decided to look up the hardest one in the entire world, and I decided to go do that because I thought to myself, I was like, well, an Ironman is an Ironman, and wherever you do it, there's different aspects to it. But I was like, what is it really like to do an Ironman going across all the mountains of Utah? Why is that so hard? Well, I'll find out when I get there. And it's this kind of thing where every single time I learn some more about myself, I'm able to actually be a little bit more relaxed about my life. I don't have a lot of questions. I don't have a lot of confusion because I put myself through every single layer, every single filter. I've run at night. I've run in the cold. I've run in the rain. I've done it all. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do all those things, but you do learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about humanity. And it just becomes this really exciting experience where at the end of the day, I could be sitting at a desk counting numbers on a chart, trying to make my income, or I could just go out into this world where I'm challenging myself in all these pursuits and finding the best version of myself and motivating the rest of the world. And that just seemed like a much more beautiful experience. And I told you I've been writing a book and I've been doing all these things. And even as I'm writing the book, I'm like, every single page is a new man getting to the other side of it. So at least in my pursuit of all this kind of stuff, it may sound cheesy, but I really do want to meet that man at the other side of these adventures. I do. And I find that I'm a better person every single time.
Yeah, and I know writing a book and kind of looking back within yourself. I went to the is an enlightening process, right? You start to think about things that you probably wouldn't have thought about because you now have to write it down and really kind of go through details. And
Yeah.
Perceive with you, especially when you speak about something like the Iron Man, is that you almost feel like if you don't do the hardest version of it, then when it's finished, you'll almost question yourself, like, well, who am I really? Like, did I really like leave it all out there? Because like, who was I really competing against? Is that part of it?
Well, it's funny. I didn't really have any goals of doing an Ironman, but one of my best friends, this guy Kyle, we travel around the world doing events all over the place, and he was doing all these half Ironmans. And I was like, why are you? I called him one day and I said, dude, why are you doing half of something? Why are you not just going out and doing the thing? And he was like, oh shit. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm just going to sign up for one with you. We'll do it together. I'd never done a triathlon up until that point. I'd done like some sprints, but those are just, that's the tip of a pencil. That's just the little tip of an Ironman is a massive. So yeah, man, like, people have done it before. You can do it yourself and you can do it better than the last person if you really push it. And I just want to be that person who sets the high water mark because every single year humanity seems to keep on getting better and more interesting and more dynamic. Like I keep on looking at my phone and every time I look at it, there's a new world record broken. Roger Bannister was the guy who broke the 4-minute mile. That's a joke now. So to be part of that history is something beautiful, at least in my mind.
Yeah, and to that point, I think that you keep setting a new bar with Hyrox that people probably like, just the times we've done, like I look at it sometimes and I'm just like, this isn't insanity, but you keep setting a new bar, and I think you give something that people get closer, right? Like
yeah, oh yeah, dude. I thought to myself,
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, I'm so freaking fit. No one could be close. And then I go and race. The guy who I beat last year for world championship still about a minute behind me. I know that's a fair amount, but I moved the bar so much further. He caught right up. You're just like, I can't be relaxed. Can't be
No.
relaxed. Otherwise,
Well,
if I sleep,
that's a good thing,
stop doing
probably.
it.
Because you're right. Because if you would have stayed the same, he would have beat you, and then it
Yep,
would have.
100%.
But yeah, you definitely keep setting the bar for yourself. You have a lot of other stuff going on right now, which is, from kind of seeing your growth, like that kind of makes me like look at you like almost in a proud way, right? You have supplement line now. You have, YouTube channel has gotten huge. I know you have a couple of pretty major clothing endorsements, like, endorsements that between Puma and 24/7 and that kind of stuff. Like,
Yep.
how has it been transitioning into a business? Like, you're a whole business at this point now. You're not just the guy who's going out there that has to run for his food anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you're the guy who, like, you've become a whole entire business over the last 5 or 6 years. So like, how does that feel?
Man, that's the devil of it all. It's a beautiful thing, but the way I say it is being an athlete is like pushing like that story. I think if it's Sisyphus, the guy who pushes the boulder up the hill every single day, business is pushing up 10 to 20 of those rocks at the same time. It's the same amount of weight, it's the same hill, but it's pushing it all over the place because there's so many different aspects of it. And as soon as you turn your head, you're looking at logistics, then all of a sudden you go over here, you're looking at accounting, and then all of a sudden you're at marketing. You turn your head for too long and you don't snap back to it, dude. You've missed out. And I've had to become this entirely different human being. I've had to really find a way to take the time that I do have and make it so efficient, make it so powerful. And I had to change who I am as a person. Like the monster that I make myself to compete cannot be the monster that I use to build businesses. It just doesn't work. The same tongue does not speak all languages, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
it's very,
yeah.
very different. When I show up to a training workout and the guys just don't cut it, I'm like, get the fuck off the track. All right, guys, I need to get these reps in. Like, you can't, I have to leave you and get off the track if you're not going to keep this, like, this attitude here. I can't necessarily use that same language and that same attitude in the room when it comes to business. I have to understand that there's different aspects and things that I'm not fully aware of, things that I'm not fully up to date on, that I'm not the best at. And I have to be humble and sit there in the room, and just accept the situation. And I can honestly say that a couple years ago, I feel like I had been doing it all wrong. And once I had figured it out, I realized I was like, I've been playing Monopoly. And, I say this often. Some people go around every lap and lose money, some maintain, and other are making cash. I one day had to wake up and wise up and say, man, I've been making laps like everybody else is, but there's a couple people that are making laps. And every time I see them, they got more cash. And cash isn't everything.
Yeah,
But if you want to
success.
change the game, yeah, it is. If you want to change the way that you're playing the game, you can. And you have to change a couple ways that you're looking at things. And I just started to change the way I looked at the world, and it became this like beautiful, bountiful flower. Like everything was an opportunity. Sometimes at an exhausting level, but I'm grateful. I've been able to bridge the gap and bring in such big sponsors into the sport of Hyrox that did not exist before. They weren't even considering it. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I said, everybody's holding one of these. And if they're not looking at me often, I'm making a mistake. So now we have four full-time employees in our media team. And like when I met with you last, man, I didn't have any of that. I just decided one day, I was like, that's not going to happen anymore. If I show up, there's a camera on at all times.
Because that's what people want to see. People want to see what you're actually doing. You know what I mean? Like, that's what people buy into. They kind of want to know who you really are.
Yeah, dude.
So, and that was like part of my question actually. So Hyrox has these big sponsors now. You ran Spartan at a high level, and you did some other competitions at a high level. The stuff they did, even with you, never seemed to transition that way. Like, there wasn't. I didn't feel like there was the same connection where like you didn't even have. You had Hobie Paul on your podcast recently, and I listened to that because I was really, really interested in that. I think the same thing with him. Like, he never kind of fully bought in, and they never fully bought in. Do you see a difference in kind of what you're doing now to what we was doing back then, or is the sport just evolved so much that it's just a whole totally different market?
I think that this is a totally different capacity, first of all. I mean, like, I remember the year that I signed on with Tough Mudder as like an athlete marketing representative. They had just made $100 million in sales the year before. That's huge. Hyrox has not done that yet. It's interesting though, the rate that Hyrox is growing is so much more faster than Tough Mudder. And it's totally different because Tough Mudder and Spartan Race were kind of more of an experience. There was a professional side to it, but you can feel a totally different level of intensity and professionalism on the Hyrox side. It's like more like the Tour de France, where it's very easy to shape and build and market, like, you know, just like the Tour de France. Like it's sexy, it's fast, it's fun, it's wild. Like it's perfect. It's a package. The other aspect is, man, is like marketing has changed so much since then. And at least for myself now, I tell everybody I'm not a supplement company. I am a media company that owns a supplement company. We completely changed it. And like I had a meeting with Puma earlier today, and I was like, here's the reality, dude. Like we are producing views at a higher level than Hyrox. We're producing 10 times the amount of content that they do. We're producing like 100 times the amount that anybody else is in the space. And we come to them being able to show our value also, but also we're storytellers. We love it. We love when we make a YouTube and we sit down and be like, guys, wait, I guarantee this is going to kick ass. And like, that's fun for us. I'm like, tomorrow, dude, we've got this run. We've got this guy coming. I want these 3 style of shots. I'm going to hit the paces. And I was like, let's just go. And I'm like, I guarantee I'll break 100,000 views on this video. We just did. And you're just like, yes. And it's one of these kind of things where you sit there and you play this game, man. It's, as I said, it's all a game.
Yeah.
And if you can pick that up and you sit there and watch other people that inspire you and learn their lessons of the game, bam, just keep get better.
That's a really good analysis of the whole thing. It's you know, you're right. I think everything's in a different place. But there was this email that you just made me think about that came out when that whole that James Franco movie came out about the North Korean dictator, right? And there was that the leak in Hollywood, and all the emails came out, and they said Kevin Hart. They had these Kevin Hart emails that basically had him saying like, "I'm not doing. You have to pay me for my social media. Like, if you guys want me to promote the movie through my social media, you're going to pay me separately for that." And it was like kind of an outcry. And then I heard him speak about it. He was like, I've built this whole, I have this power. I built all this following. I can control markets. Why would I not ask for more money for it? And it's like, it's kind of what we're doing. Like you could almost influence on your own without that. Right. So like us together is better, but I want to kind of be, I'm like a separate business that can kind of move the market a little bit.
Dude, think about it. I mean, you got to think about any kind of business, and you look at us, we're just an like we're like a speaker, you know, that's really what we are. And attached to a screen, we can pump out messaging and views that are going to influence the community in a positive way. Because if you think about it, like I'm out there and I'm running, that's cool. Then all of a sudden people look down, they're like, damn, he's so fast. What shoes is he wearing?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's like, it's like that quickly how the brain works. Boom, boom. And even for me, like I can't help myself when I watch something and I get excited about it. I immediately want to know, what's that guy wearing? What's that guy eating? How did he get there? What kind of cereal? And it's just like your brain, our human, like the human experience is just like that. And not that I'm sitting here just like always trying to find a way to trick people around me, but I just realized the power of it. And I've also used it for really a lot of good. Like we just have built so many cool things through education, motivation, cool stuff, cool experiences. So, man, I cannot wait. Even the last couple of years I have of competing are going to be amazing. And what happens next is going to be 10 times cooler.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I just thought, like, as you're saying, I'm like, you know, stuff I bought because I saw you say, "Oh, there's a carbon fiber plate in these sneakers," right? You know, like something like that. Like this makes this, like the littlest advantage. We're always kind of looking for an edge. So, what is this guy doing to get an edge? So it's like,
yeah.
do you with the Puma stuff? Do you have input on the kind of the stuff you're wearing or how it's designed or what you'd like to see from it? Are you getting input on that kind of stuff yet?
Yeah, luckily we've reached a level where they actually will sit down and have the conversations. And, you know, rightfully so, like you have to work to a certain level to get that kind of respect in the room, but they're a really, really cool brand and they will take that kind of attention. Because I say, hey, man, like you guys have an amazing shoe, but it's designed, it'd be like a difference between like a boot made for snow and a boot made for mud. I was like, we just need to change a couple features. Like the boot made for snow needs a little bit of like insulation on the side of it. And we need to have change the traction just a little. The shoe doesn't have to change, but you have to have these little features. And like you have to understand, Hyrox is not running. It is fitness racing. So it's like you're doing things where you're going up against a sled, you're doing burpees. There's all these different aspects of it where your foot actually is going through so many different planes of motion compared to the average runner. And if you really want to create the amazing experience for them so that they can keep on showing up and doing their best, you do need to give that attention to detail. And they know that.
It's funny because I feel like you're in a sport now, and that may have been the problem with some of the obstacle racing stuff in the past, that there wasn't a set time, there wasn't a set distance, there wasn't something you could kind of shoot for. It was just people, right? Like now it's like, oh, Hunter ran 58, he ran 57, whatever he ran, there's a time. And with that time becomes little things like this, like, hey, if you tweak the shoe a little bit this way, maybe it'll run 5 seconds faster, which makes them a difference. But if it's a different time or a different difference every single time, it's hard to tell that kind of stuff almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, dude, I changed my entire opinion of the way the fitness world works when Whoop came out. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of Whoop.
I am a fan. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, here's my thing. Here's my opinion. The average person does not need a Whoop, but they love it. They love to know that they slept a little better last night. They love to know that they're like, oh, man, here's my strain. They love all this stuff. And I'm like, this is crazy. These people are just eating this up. I mean, it's a watch that doesn't even tell the time. It tells you if you're stressed or you're tired and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's crazy. My cousin, who's the head of our media team, I have every resource under the sun for him to get better. And he got himself a little smartwatch, and it tells him his sleep score, or like he needs more rest, or where his training's at. He's so excited about this little watch telling him what to do that I've never seen him so motivated in my entire life. And I'm like, dude, you've worked for me for 2 years, and I'm the epitome of the source, and he doesn't give a shit. But it's like, it's so funny how the human brain loves numbers. Like, it's so easy to measure and show up. Like a scale. I step on the scale, and even though it may not be completely accurate, it's just this indicator of how fit I am or how fat I am. And you're obsessed. Your Hyrox time is now a metric of how good you are, just like an Ironman or a marathon.
You're really right about that. I mean, I look at how many miles did I run last month? How fast did I run? How much feet of elevation did I get? And I look every single month. And when I don't do it the same way, I feel like I'm moving backwards. I'm like, oh, this is like in life. Like, I feel like it's always like a backwards.
Yeah.
Just be slowing down finally. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you're right. It really, you look at it like that.
But unfortunately, you couldn't do that with Spartan Race and Tough Mudder. I thought they were so cool, but like, it was always kind of this ambiguous idea. Like, did I do better? Like, you may have a different ranking, but you're like, man, I've been doing this sport forever, and I don't know if my first one is better than the last one I did.
Right. I think that's why I bought into the stadium races the most, because they were the most the same. They weren't, but they were the closest. You know what I mean? You can kind of have a gauge. But
totally.
That was the problem. There was nothing to compare it to. But you're right. It's funny. I had a whole conversation with my friend Joe, who you met when you were down here filming. He was one of the head trainers at the other place. Yeah. And he's like, I drank 1 glass of wine last weekend, and my score was off for 4 days. He's like, I was in the red for 2 days, and I was like yelling for the after that. He was so pissed off, but he was talking about it.
Dude, that's why I don't touch them, because like the watches are always telling me, they're like, you're in dog shit shape, you're on death's bed. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how is this possible? Last night was a Super Bowl. I drank a bunch of beers, not like a crazy amount, and I had a hard workout today. I just texted my coach and said, hey, listen, man, I had some beers last night. I'm going to do Tuesday's workouts instead. I clipped my shoes in, I got on the bike, and I just pedaled until I sweated it all out. And now I feel like $1,000,000. And I don't need something to tell me that I screwed up last night. I already know. Like,
yeah, I already know. My body's not an optimal performance right now. I'm aware. You know?
Yeah. But hey, good for them.
Yeah. So, you know, again, you talked about the book. You talked about a lot of things at this point right now as far as your past goes. Do you ever look back at, because I know you've been vocal about this, and I just kind of a preface to the show, when we recorded the show, you recorded in front of a school. They were eighth grade students, and you kind of talked about your history and, like, you know, your screw-ups and how you got to here where you were. And I thought that was a really powerful place that you brought them. Do you ever re-examine some of the stuff you did when you were younger and when you end up in a rehab and everything like that, and think, hey, there was actually a reasoning behind I was doing that, and kind of related to any of the stuff you're doing today? Like, because I know it's almost easy to say, oh, it's just a screw up. But when I look back at some of the reckless shit I did when I was young, I look at it and I'm like, well, I was really doing this. I know I was doing stupid shit, but there was a purpose to it at the moment. Do you ever look back at that and think, hey, I was just trying to find something, or there was some kind of meaning to what I was doing at that moment, even though it was reckless and it wasn't good for me.
Well, I'll give you a two-part answer. Both of them don't really match the other, but I think with people like you and I, especially myself, I can speak to myself at least, when you're moving through life at that pace, like you're going to hit speed bumps more often, you're going to bump into things more often, and it's important for us to get that out of the way young so that when we have these bigger opportunities, which we're destined to have, we don't end up having that big crash. And now I can honestly say that like all that hardship that I went through when I was younger, going through the understandings, the speed bumps, the crashes, whatever it is, has made me such a strong person now. It's put me through such a refined process so that when the pressure does come, I got that shit out of the way when I was younger. And it's made me such a strong, a wise, versatile person because I had much less before. I had much bigger challenges before. And now I'm a much more adapted and aware human being. Now, here's another woo-woo thing. I don't know if it's good for your show or not. You're welcome to cut it if you don't want it. But,
Sure, I
you
want
know,
it.
what?
I'm sure I'll want it.
Dude, I've never been the kind of person that's been like very woo-woo hippie-ish, looking for like, bigger answers in the clouds kind of things. After building a relationship with this guy who I've known for over a year now, he came over and did this shaman type experience at the house with me and took me through this whole transformation. And we don't need to go into the details of all aspects of it, but he brought things out of me that I never thought I would ever talk about, things that I didn't even know that I'd gone through. And he had really shown me like part of the reason why I had broadcasted and become the person that I am now, and some of the things I was projecting out from places when I was very young. Nothing terrible and traumatic, but just like very interesting. He made me aware of it. And I can honestly say, like, there's versions of me that have been pushing very, very hard to prove something for a really long time. And I can say now that I'm very aware of who that person is through this experience, it's that like, yeah, I understand some of the stupid shit that I did a little bit more. And I understand why I am who I am today. And with like this more broadened understanding of who that person is at all stages, I can't wait to see who the next person's going to be. Because I still, at this point, am having versions of fuck ups. They're just different versions.
Well,
And to constantly, truly, if you want to be the best version of yourself, you do really need to look back and look like straight at your feet and then look forward. Because we're always anxious about the future, but sometimes you really do need to look into the past and say, how did I get here? Why am I here? Who is standing here right now? And like that's a big part of my process so that I can get better as a human being, whether it's through racing, business, or personal relationships like you and I have. And I think like that's a massive aspect of it all. Like it's just being able to have that honesty and intention and intensity of just constantly looking at who you are.
I'm happy you answered it. I'm happy you gave me that answer actually, because that's where I was trying to kind of get to with you. Like that's kids have kind of done that for me. Well, my son does things and my daughter does things, and it forces me to reflect on things I did and why I did it and stuff with my parents and stuff like that. But like I think something's got to bring it out of you, whether it's a shaman or something else. Like you kind of have to reflect on that stuff. So I
Yeah.
think it's great that you're at that place already at your age, because it took me a lot longer. But like it's a good place to be, to kind of just be conscious of it. And I know people, and I see, there's two very distinct sides of you, and I know that from kind of getting to know you personally, and there's the competitive side of you that I think will never change. And you said something the day I interviewed you in front of the kids, and you were like, you want to be the best at something, you're going to have to lose friends, you're going to have to piss family off, you're going to have to be that guy that's a jerk sometimes. And as long as the end result kind of fits with the goal you're trying to get to, then you're going to have to understand that everybody's not going to love you all the time. But I feel like you're getting to a place where you're almost a lot more adaptable to the people around you. And I see kind of you engaging with people around you. Do you feel like you're growing differently in that way now at this point?
Yeah. Yeah, man. It takes a level of courage within yourself to say it's okay to let go a little bit because it's the saying of like you can't hold sand, you just got to let go, maybe kind of let it sit in the palm of your hands, and opening it up, some of it might blow away, but it won't be as exhausting as gripping onto it all the time. And I don't want to miss out on life. Like, it's my cousin's baby shower, February 24th, and In reality, do I like clap my hands and dream about going to baby showers? No, but do I love them and I'm going to catch a red eye to come surprise them in a couple weeks? Yes. Yes. And
Cool.
I have to let go of my perfect schedule of training, measured food, everything to go do that. And I don't want to piss people off. I want to be connected. I want to be, loved and share love with my family. So it's definitely changed and become a bigger part of my process as I've gotten older. I had my bad boy phase, and now, it's changing, especially because I can see family in my future as well. So I need to practice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, I think it's good. I think we evolve when we do things, and the good thing is you're still breaking world records, so it's not like it's taking a lot of the edge off of that part of it. So like that question of it is good. Like even what you said about your training partners in this interview, how basically if it's no good, like, hey, you got to go. That sounds like Kobe. That sounds like Michael Jordan. That sounds like guys who have reached crazy heights. Is that something you've adapted to, or that's just like inside of you? Like, hey, this is what I need. I know what I need. And even like I saw before you broke the last world record that you had hired a new coach, and because I saw the training video for it, like, are you constantly tweaking the people around you and the stuff you're doing to try? Do you feel like you need to do that, to examine that constantly?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big part of it, dude. Like I even had a meeting with my coach about 2 weeks ago. Oh, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, Ken, you're good now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man, it's a constant part of the process because like almost 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with my coach where I almost like was ready to let him go. It was like we had this conversation. I was like, listen, man, like I know I trust you, but I want to just be honest. I was like, if we cannot align on this next chapter, we can't do it together. And I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. I just want to make sure that you know that I know that you know, kind of thing. It's like, are we both on the same page here? Because we can come back to this later in the off season, but we immediately aligned, and I was like, all right, let's go. And like a lot of my early stages of my career was kind of like, you remember the kids and when you're younger, all riding around the neighborhoods on bicycles, kind of laughing together and stuff like that. Like that's going through life, hanging out. In this stage of life, when you start to get really competitive and aligned with like big goals, you can't hang out anymore, dude. Like the pedal's down to the ground. You've got places to go. You've got just so much time. So, I can still have my friends and my network around me, but there's tighter rules. Like tomorrow, my friend flies in and he gets to ride his bike next to me and count my reps. He can't hang with me running, and that's not meant to be insulting, but I was like, dude, don't make me tell you the thing you already know. You can't hang with me running, but let's do 70% of our workouts together, and then you just support me on these two other ones, the big runs, and we're good. And it's perfect. Like I just had to find a way to practice the communication, put our egos aside, and find a way that we can all elevate together.
I will tell you that I feel like the stuff you're talking about communication wise for business purposes will be the biggest asset to you in the future. If you could just be transparent and communicate with people that way, business will happen a lot more smoothly. 95% of the issues that I've had in business have been over communication. It's almost always communication, right? Like it's almost always somebody's not telling what you want, or you're not telling them what you want, or you didn't communicate this because you're afraid you messed. It's whatever, but it's always something around that. So you can communicate that way in life. It's definitely it'll make things easier, even if it's a hard
Yeah.
conversation. So in wrapping up, like
Now that
what's now? Like what's next? What are you working on right this moment? What are you working on for business, for sport? Like what's kind of the next, I would say, quarter of the year look like for you?
um the we'll take it on in three ways. Personal life, I'm trying to give love to everybody that I can around me, because the month after that, as soon as this is over, I'm gone. So, I'm here for 8 weeks. I'm going to dinners with my friends. I'm spending time with my family, but then after that, I disappear. So I'm trying to be really a good friend and family member for the next couple of weeks. Personal life, I'm excited about. Training life, we're going to go to complete in Cologne. I'm going to go for the world record there. We're not looking at like 52 is obviously the goal, but I want to blast through that and go for a 51. Like, so I basically have to take off about 90 seconds in the next 8 weeks, which is doable. Because if you think about Hyrox, it's 16 opportunities to do well. There's 8 runs and 8 stations. So if I just take a second off of each of those things, that's 16 seconds. 2 seconds, it's 32. 3 seconds, it just keeps on going up. So in reality, I really have to take off 4 seconds off of every run and 4 seconds off of every station. And like that to me is where we're going to be. That's where we're going to get it done, about 4 or 5 seconds. So for me, it's just all about numbers. It's losing weight. It's putting out more power, being well. It's putting the right food in. It's aligning yourself over and over and over again, which I love. And then in business, we've got a couple of humongous announcements coming out about our partnerships globally with our supplement company, which is insane. Like I can't even begin to tell you how I used to mix up what used to look like, crazy powders and different containers all the time, and it was burning my tongue and my skin was itching. Like I was learning these formulas with my own 2 hands, and now it's this global business. And we're launching another business, which just like these 2 really cool businesses to completely support the community, because I was like, why is it when triathlon started, they made triathlon bikes? Nobody's doing that yet for our sport. Why is it in CrossFit, these guys have weight belts and grips and knee sleeves, like everything for them? I was like, why is nobody doing that? Why do bodybuilders have supplements and Ironman athletes have supplements, but there's no athletes in our sector that have our own supplements? And even though it's only a couple of degrees to the right or the left to align that, just even those extra percentage points can improve your life and your experience and make you feel like a better athlete, a happier athlete, a better person. That's all we want. So we're always just trying to find the way that the community will get aligned with what we're doing and support it back.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited. I'm a user of the supplements. So so I'm using both. I'm using the strength and the hydration supplement. I think it's great. And it's definitely helped performance. So I appreciate you deep diving into figuring out what would work for everybody else. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, send me your address over and an email, and I'll get you over some of the cool stuff that we've got going on right now. You're gonna love it.
I will. I'll shoot you a text as soon as we get off.
Awesome, dude.
You're the man. I really appreciate you doing this. And Thursday again, Hunter's going to be on the TV show, the docuseries. It's secretly probably my favorite episode. I really enjoyed filming that one. And it's Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the premiere. So everybody check that out. If you just look up Hunter Mcintyre on any social media handle, you will find him, especially his YouTube channel. It's awesome. And I'm watching. And I'll leave you be for 8 weeks, but I'm going to be in touch after that and figure out how to get together.
Dude, shoot a text. I'm only a phone call away. I'd love to connect.
All right, bro. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.